Sad day in MMA. It's a different, the different age, man. It's wild. I don't know, bro. Like Volkanovski was looking good too. Volk was looking good.
You think he was?
He was looking good. Yeah, like he was
know.
piecing him up. He was picking his shots. What I was observing is that Ilya was really selective in his shots. Like he was kind of just like walking in a lot of the time. He was just steady, just like this, steady like this. He was kind of seeing. I think Volk. I don't know, man. Here. But yeah, that first he definitely had the first round. Like Volk got the first round, and then the second round he was looking good, landing more shots, and then Ilya just came in and just blitzed him, and he had that head out. And what were the commentators talking about leading up to that, right? Like how he's pulling back.
Yeah.
And that overhand right can come and connect. And he was against the fence too, right? So couldn't back up anymore like he was doing previous to that. And Ilya, man, he's him. He's on top now. And you know what, man? Like you can make all the jokes that you want about him being like a Connor fucking copier. That's kind of like what's making this rounds.
Sport
on the
needs
internet.
that right now, man.
Conor McGregor, yeah, man. But he's like in terms of personality, he's definitely the dollar store version of Conor. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, the confidence is there, but the banter, the shit talk is not going to be on the same level. I think you only have a few people that are really good in that in the UFC.
Does Ilya speak English?
Ilya speaks English.
He speaks English.
Yeah.
I'm tripping. I thought he did.
But Conor, like, way better, like, trash talker. But I don't know if you've been seeing online where they're like Ilya's basically like copying Conor and like everywhere. Like he has the same kind of tattoo setup, same back tattoo. You know what I mean? Same kind of style in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? But like Conor and like Chael Sonnen and like who else would be top tier shit talker?
Not as good as those guys, but Tito Ortiz was a pretty big personality. Say what you want about the guy, but he definitely had a big personality, I think.
He had a big personality for sure, but I don't remember him being like a sick shit talker where like a silver tongue. Tito's not a silver tongue devil, you know what I mean?
He's not.
So I think that's what makes a great shit talker is not somebody just like like you know like that
He's
Chad.
A bad boy.
Yeah, but like
Tito was like the poster boy for a little bit.
He definitely was.
He had a run.
For like a couple of years. He I think he was like
back in like 06.
I don't know. I think it might have been earlier than that. Like early 2000s, I think.
He was like the face of the sport when I first got into it. When I was like, yo, this dude with this Hawaiian looking dude with the yellow hair.
I think he was like what, Palm Beach, Cali, or like
Palm Beach, Cali. Yeah,
no, Palm Beach, Florida, or some. I don't remember, but
Huntington Beach or some shit.
Huntington Beach bad boy. That's what it is. Exactly. You're right. Yeah. Shout out Tito Ortiz, bro.
And then there was
the original. That guy's the original. You know, he made headways. He was a trendsetter.
He did, for sure.
He was one of the first like athletes that was openly like, you know, I think he married Jenna Jameson. Jenna Jameson was a big porn star back in the day, you know what I mean?
So he might not have been a silver tongue on the same from the same cloth as Chael Sonnen or McGregor, but he definitely had that big personality. Like I am dating a porn star and front cover.
He had a big personality. He didn't get along with Dana at all.
Yeah,
he didn't get along, and he apparently like looked like he was kind of tough to do business with.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, like a big strategy for the UFC coming up was The Ultimate Fighter, and The Ultimate Fighter was basically a reality TV show.
Yeah, well, they were in the hole. I don't know exactly how much Dana and the Fertitta. So that's actually one of the things that we didn't cover when we last talked about UFC.
Yeah,
was we got to the point where Horian ended up, creating the UFC and then running it in America, basically, and like on these Indian reserves. But eventually he sold it to Dana and the Fertitta brothers. So Dana, I think, leading up to this was like a manager, like he's kind of like an Ali Abdelaziz, you know that guy. He was like managing. Yeah, he was managing. He was a manager. I don't know if he was a promoter in boxing leading up to that, but he was already involved in like pro like combat sports already. You know what I mean? and he partnered up with the Fertitta brothers, who are brothers from Vegas. I think they own like resorts and like hotels, and they bought it for like, I want to say, I don't know, you could look it up, but I think I want to say something like $2 million, something like that.
Well over
billions. We're talking billions, bro. We're talking bees. So I think the Fertitta brothers ended up exiting like way earlier. I wonder whether or not they still get a piece of like whatever deals. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly.
Yeah, you're right. It was 2 million.
Yeah, it was 2 million, right?
Yeah.
When you're right, you're right. When you're
That's
not,
crazy.
you're not.
But the thing is that you could say what you want about Horian and how he dropped the bag on that one, but the UFC wouldn't be what the UFC is without
Dana. Without Dana and the Fertitta, I mean, Dana more so than the Fertitta brothers, at least on the surface. You know what I mean? You don't know what kind of, like, I think the Fertitta brothers were more so there from a capital standpoint, because they have a lot of money, right? And so all this preamble to get to the point where we get to the Ultimate Fighter. The Ultimate Fighter was a Hail Mary. Like, they were in the hole, like, I want to say $40 million or some shit like that, because they were paying for their TV spots on Spike.
Yeah.
They were spending a lot of money on the production, like putting on a UFC show, especially in those days, like, you know, like early on when you don't really make that much at the gate. That's a pretty big expense. You know what I mean? It's an even bigger expense now. Like the production of the UFC is one of the best in pro sports, in my opinion.
Nowadays,
you know
for sure.
Like nowadays, yeah, 100%. Because I think like you have a lot of kind of because of them working with so many networks. Obviously, they get the best practices and they have the money to hire the best professionals or whatever. But yeah, so it wasn't until UFC, the Ultimate Fighter, where they started popping off. Now, leading up to this, you still had like the people that were already fans. You had this is when like Chuck Liddell was making his run. This is when like Franklin, Randy Couture, like it was that generation. GSP was still kind of, you know what I mean, it just about to hit his peak, you know. So they had like the people there, but it didn't break that ceiling of like reaching the next level. You know what I mean?
Because of them being, those guys are very straight arrow, very about their, like no one was really promoting the show, promoting those events as
well
as Connor or Chael, or like they didn't have like big WWE type personalities, you know, to really be provocative and really put go viral.
Not really. I nothing comes to mind. I think like Mark Coleman was amazing on the mic back then, because he was just so full of roids, bro. He would say some wild shit.
Yeah.
Dan Severn, American Badass. But yeah. So I don't think like, even if there was, it hadn't reached this like it wasn't in the mainstream to that degree, because there were so many forces that were fighting against it going mainstream. So back then, like putting on a UFC show, you basically only had certain markets that even allowed for it, because it was seen as this human cockfighting thing. Like John McCain called it human cockfighting to Congress, and basically was like actively trying to prevent it from growing. You know what I mean? So when you have like that, like people take it for granted now that how the UFC is everywhere, but there was a time that only Cali and Vegas were allowing fights. I think like that's why Trump and Dana are so tight, because Trump was one of the few people that actually allowed him to, I think was it one of his resorts, I want to say maybe in the Jersey area, no, I think maybe in Vegas. He probably had a property, but New York, for example, it wasn't until much later on that New York was allowed to have fights. It's because of legislation. So I think that was a big part of it, but other markets, it was already huge. Like in Japan, it was already massive. You know what I mean? In Brazil, it was already massive.
One championship.
But America is the big market, obviously, and it took a while for the UFC to kind of like dig their heels in. But it got to the point, like I said, like UFC, the Ultimate Fighter, they already had all these stars, but again, they couldn't reach the mainstream. But it wasn't until Stephan Bonner, RIP, and Forrest Griffin had their fight, and they were it was a barn burner, and that's where you saw like the numbers start increasing round by round by round, and that fight saved them.
Yeah,
from bankruptcy, basically, because if it wasn't for that, for the gains that they made because of that, then who knows? Like there might not be a UFC, or at least the way that we see it now with Dana at the helm and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think it would have been a sport that would have grown regardless. Honestly, UFC was just positioned in like the perfect spot.
Yeah, it definitely would have grown regardless. It's so tough to say without Dana at the helm because Dana just did such a kick-ass, rode every single trend and every single happened, organized all the the thing that's really nice about the UFC is that it's so different from boxing in the sense that in boxing there's this culture that's trying to preserve and trying to build up these titan fights, not just giga fights, but these titan fights. And so you'll have like oftentimes over decades, you won't have the best fighters fight against the best fighters until it's either one too late or if it's or two where it's just it's already so far gone now that it's kind of lost. Like Pacquiao and Mayweather, for example, right? Whereas UFC is not like that. UFC, it's Dana at the helm. He's the one. It's only one organization, right? Whereas boxing, you have multiple, which
promotions.
Feeds in, multiple promotions, which feeds into.
I think that's a big part of the problem,
right.
Yeah.
And then so Dana calls all the fights. He organizes all the fights. And then Dana, from his perspective, he's like, "Yo, the best are going to fight the best."
Yeah,
like all the time. We're going to make the best events.
And what I really like about UFC and MMA, which boxing can learn from, is boxing. There's always that coveted donut. There's the coveted zero beside the fight. Like if you lose a fight in boxing, it's hard to kind of climb back after that. You know what I mean? From a promotion standpoint.
Yeah, that's so stressful, man.
Well, yeah. I mean, it comes with the game, right? But I think for UFC. The cool part is you could have somebody like lose a couple times, and the fan base is still like rabid for that fighter. Like, and I'm talking about casuals, right? Like, obviously, those like let's say boxer, like those guys that are boxers, they'll still follow a guy even though he's not he lost, because everybody knows if you're in combat sports, like you're gonna fucking take an L. You're such a dime a dozen if you don't, if you have a zero beside your name, right, or beside your record. But the casuals, I think, in boxing, they're less likely to ride for like a fighter after they've lost or had a series of losses than for like a UFC. And I think a lot of going back to that, like from a promotion standpoint, I think the advantage of the UFC is they could pool all the money that they made throughout all their different cards and then have like a marketing budget that then for each like event, right? Whereas like for boxing and whatnot, like their promotions are completely segmented. Like it's you could have obviously there's probably gonna be like best practices and standards or whatever, but they're definitely not doing the same good job of promoting their fights as the UFC is.
Yeah.
Especially because now like who's left? Showtime?
Yeah, Showtime.
Or you have like your.
Think of it. What else is there?
Well, HBO did have it, but they stopped showing it now. Yeah, I think Dazn, what is that network?
Oh, yeah. All right, DAZN.
Is it DAZN? Yeah, exactly. DAZN. I think DAZN probably puts on the more consistent like pay-per-views. But man, I like me as a big boxing fan, I'll like loosely follow it now.
Well, who fought recently that I didn't even know had a fight coming up was Ryan Garcia, and he's like one of the big household names right now. Yeah,
he did. He looked good that fight.
He looked good, I mean, I don't know if it's just a talent thing too with where we are right now in boxing, but I feel like there's the promotion is just it's not doing what it's supposed to do right now, and
there isn't. It's segmented. This is part of like the issue with decentralization is that it's hard to get organized.
Right. It should. So I mean, the lesson there is boxing should have communist party at the helm.
Yes, and perhaps not this democratic system of having all these different promotions. Selfishly speaking, that would be sick. Like if you had, and that's the travesty of boxing because it's such a sick sport. But now you have guys that aren't actual true boxers in like the professional sense, making more money than actual boxers, like these influencers, for example. You think that people, if those guys were to start doing UFC, for example, that they would do anywhere close to the UFC's numbers? I don't think so.
That's a problem. I think that it's if you have a big enough name, like if we take the prime example of Jake Paul, if you have a big enough following, a big enough name, then you could genuinely compete with how boxing is right now.
As far as numbers go. Yeah, it's wild.
It's wild. But if you were to do the same thing, well, for UFC,
I don't think so.
You can't. Yeah,
I don't think so because you're
gonna
tight
get
in
killed.
UFC.
Yeah, you're gonna get killed by like I think it's a competition thing. I think the competition in boxing is so fragmented, and the meta is just so
because each event is literally like it's a separate event each time. So like if there's a fight, Ryan Garcia versus whoever, we got to go through this whole rigmarole of like these negotiations just to get there. And then once you get there, then like everybody that's working on that show is just working towards that one show.
Yeah.
Now, when you have the next show, it's going to be a completely different set of people. You know what I mean? Depending on the promotion. But whereas UFC, the production is so much easier to set up. You know,
you have like a world champion, lineal champion of X, Y, and Z in fucking 3 countries for one promotion, and then you have
that's the other issue, man.
The triple unified, unanimous, undisputed champion of 4 different other
like
countries and continents.
A Tech Bros fucking title. You know what I mean?
Exactly,
I'm the regional manager of the business development and product and.
You know what I mean? It's like
that's what's hard to even like for casuals. That's what can be really confusing, right? Like if you're somebody that knows a little bit about like that follows it, then yeah, it's not that hard. Like there's really 3 main championships, right? You have your WBC, WBO, and IBF. And generally, if you get all of those titles, then you're considered to be like the lineal champion. Not only is that confusing though. But then for each weight class, there's essentially 3 weight classes, right? So there's like the super middleweight, junior middleweight. Like what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? And they're all like 2-3 pounds difference.
Yeah.
Fucked. But
which is why this, as much as I love the guy too, like, I mean, okay, taking nothing away from from what he accomplished because it's on some goat shit. And it will probably never ever be accomplished again. But what Manny did run for the 8.
Brother. Unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Crazy.
But it's funny though because what you just said is so true, and I often think about that as kind of like the devil's advocate when I look at his 9 different championship weight class run.
8, yeah.
Is the fact that every weight class is separated by like 2-5 pounds, but in that in that sport though, those 2 to 5
still
pounds count.
Mean a lot actually.
Does, yeah.
Like I mean you could it's just the title thing that's kind of hilarious as far as you having titles for 3. You're essentially having 9 titles almost available for each main weight for each class that UFC has. So where UFC has, you have your featherweight, your roosters, feathers, lightweights, then it's welterweight, middleweight, light heavyweight, heavyweight, right? Now for each of those steps that we just did, now multiply that by 3 essentially in boxing. Your junior middleweight, and then middleweight, super middleweight. And I don't actually know. Okay, look up like where did Manny start? Like what weight did he start at? And then I think he finished at 147. No, I think he might have gone on a fucking middleweight one, junior middleweight, which is 154 in boxing. Even in even the actual names of the divisions are different between UFC and boxing.
So his first title was WC flyweight,
which is how much? What's the poundage?
Flyweight is a class in boxing which includes fighters weighing above 49 kg, 108 pounds, and up to 51 kg, 112.
112.
So like around 110 pounds.
Yeah. And then he got up to 147.
Yeah.
And retained all of his power as he went up in weight class.
Yeah.
Now, even like objectively, it is, I don't know. Like, I mean, he was a growing man as he went through those weight classes, but in that world, bro, it's kind of. I wonder if he had some performance enhancing drugs because
surely
Alex Ariza, for example, was a bit of a shady character.
Surely,
back in there, like boxing's a shady ass sport, and that, like a lot of it is just
another thing about
cloaked behind like organized crime and just so just generally shady people, right? That's always like there's always had the boxing's always had a stink to it. But yeah, I mean, shout out Manny, bro. This guy's apparently he's looking. I mean, how much. Going back to that industry, 90% of it is just shadows and mirrors. Like until the actual fight gets announced, it's hard to say like whether or not something's actually happening. But something I saw is that like apparently Manny's looking to come back from retirement at age 45 now. And he's looking at fights with like the stars of the fucking division, like your Gervonta Davis, your Ryan Garcias. He's even looking to a fight with Conor, which is partly apparently why it's like Conor hasn't announced a fight with the UFC yet, because whenever like it's just like when Conor fought Mayweather, right? UFC was involved, so I guess I don't know what's going on with the negotiations there. But I don't know. I'm not mad at it, honestly. Selfishly speaking, and depending on where it is, bro, and depending on who it's against. If it's one more fight for Manny, bro, I might let's see, bro. Let's see.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be mad at attending that, bro.
I think you'd be mad as soon as you see the price tag on something.
Probably.
Like
I mean, I think that's going to be a function of where it's going to be, right?
Yeah.
If it's in like
Manila,
bro, if Manny can bring it back to Manila, brother, I would be down. Like you wouldn't be down. If, you know what I mean?
The
okay,
whole world would be down for that.
Come on now. But anyway, so yeah, like going back to Ilya, man, the Connor Copier, like he, I don't know if I would say he made it look easy because he definitely got pieced up, but man, his power is unbelievable. Like he's Timothy, bro. And just the way that he did it, it seemed like he was just walking him down,
stalked him down the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Now he was still getting pieced up, like he was wearing it on his face. But it's a sad day, man. Like that was a tough one to watch because I'm a big Volk fan. I mean, he went on such a run that when you see these guys that did that and now, you kind of take it for granted, right? It's just the same thing with Izzy, for example. He went on such a crazy run that when he lost to Strickland, it's just like, bro, like what? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's brutal. I felt for Volk for probably like half an hour after that happened. After seeing that, my heart was like, because I was rooting for him too. Yeah. I knew Topuria was also a fucking monster
dangerous, man. Dangerous.
Yeah, I think on the whole Connor imitating thing, like it's to be expected, dude. Like Topuria and like other guys coming up on
they look up to Connor 1000%. Yeah. No, I get it. It's funny. Like online, it's just for the memes, bro. Everybody's just ragging on this guy.
Yeah, everyone's gonna rag on anyone that's trying to do anything.
100%. Yeah, no, exactly.
Because Connor was just like such an enigma. You know what I mean?
Yo,
like, he was just a one of one.
Just an aside, watching back on our previous episodes, bro. You say 100% way too fucking much, bro. You say it all the time, both of us.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I'm like 1,000%, 20,000%. No, we never say.
We there's a lot of things. So there's that, and I think it's suiting to shift gears a little bit to this conversation because this is our 10th episode. We've done 10 of these so far, and we always are the types to kind of want to improve and get better every single day, and we have that kind of personality. I don't know if you would call that type A. Is that type A personality kind of thing, or?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I don't think type A is more like I don't know. Maybe anyway, that trait, whatever.
Type whatever the fuck type it is.
Type to fucking try to get better every day, motherfucker. Yeah. You know, right? So that's the type.
That being said, with 10 episodes in the books right now of the YMP, what are some things that we talked about one already, but what are other things that you've noticed from some of the?
Well, one thing is that when we transition to a new topic, we should. I don't think it's necessary to call out that we're transitioning to a new topic, right? Just so that was a signal. Like I think that was sick that you recognized that's where I was shifting it to. I think it's smoother to just go right into it, as opposed to being like shifting gears here now. You know what I mean? So I think that's happened a couple of times, but aside from that, I think and I'm only just calling that out because it literally just happened, right? But I would say that the set is definitely something that we're improving on. I don't know how much more to improve this aside from having something like in the middle here, for example. I think the lighting could be something that we could be a little bit better. Definitely the video quality can be way better. I mean, we're limited to just having our 3 iPhones right now. I think it definitely does the job, but I think once we get an actual cameras set up here with some solid cameras, that the production value just goes up that much more. To me, it's low priority though. I mean, I think we both agree that actually the content's the most important.
Yes.
And I think we've gotten way better from episode 1, and we've made so much more strides just in the smoothness of our discussion. I think we're getting better at just like doing it off the cuff, whereas in the beginning we try to kind of like structure a little bit more. Not to say that having a structure is a bad thing, but I think finding that balance is going to be key, like going forward. You know, but aside from that, the audio has gotten better. I don't know if we can improve that much more with like the resources that we have, aside from having the what was it called again? The
defibrillator or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I agree. I agree with everything you mentioned. I would only add maybe just from my personal thing. It's such a podcasting. I've learned over the past 10 episodes is a different kind of conversation skill.
Yeah,
It's a whole unique skill unto itself.
100%.
Right?
Yeah,
and like what? Yeah, there you go again.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And to make a good, I think what I usually do is I compare our pods. I would listen to our pods and compare it to other podcasts that I just typically listen to in my day to day,
right?
And see and try to compare like what they do differently versus what we do. And so I think, to your point, I think we're really good at just having a smooth conversation, where we're asking lots of questions, and we're trying to get at we're just trying to develop like more deeper thoughts and critical thinking into the topics that we talk about. On the other hand, there's things like I've noticed that we interrupt each other a lot. You know, we talk over each other quite a bit. We say certain things that we say pretty often, like 100%. In my case,
like conversational ticks.
A lot. Yeah, like conversation ticks, right? I say like, and I say fuck a lot. You know what I mean? Like things like that are things that I believe you like. If you were to address them and try to work on them, they will make you a better conversationalist, better podcaster.
Absolutely.
Right. And so, but that's different than, I would argue that that's completely unique and different from actually trying to just be a better conversationalist in general. Like,
I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just like conversationalist from a day to day, versus like we're cognizant that there's a fourth wall here, fourth wall.
Exactly.
Yeah, like we're kind of, I mean, I think there's that balance there, right? Where you're trying to have a conversation, a genuine conversation, but you're also in the back of your mind, like, do you find that you're conscious of the fact, like, okay, I want to frame this response in such a way that if I was watching right now, like I would get value out of this.
I try to.
You try to, right? Yeah. Which is different from like other podcasts. Well, actually, is it different from other like as I'm saying that, like I know, like, you know, Rogan's, for example, naturally, because I watched that one a lot, like that's the one that you kind of model it after, or one of them. I don't know if that he's really conscious of that, aside from maybe when I think it depends. Depends on who he has as guests, right? Like if it's more of like a scientist or somebody that he's trying to get information out of, I think definitely he's more cognizant of that, of trying to get whatever that person's message out. So he'll ask questions in that way. Whereas other ones are a little bit more loose, right? Where he has like a comedian friend hang out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think that he's that much more conscious of it. But I think for us, just like from the nature of our conversations and what we're trying to kind of get across, I think we are more cognizant of it as opposed to free flowing. But I think there's I don't want to lose that looseness either. You know what I mean?
I think it's, I totally 100% agree that looseness is actually the thing that we should continue to hone in on, because podcasting, it's you have the looseness side to it, which is actually the side that people really, because I was thinking about, like, why do I even listen to podcasts in the first place? Right? Like, why do I tune into Rogan's? Why do I tune into to Theo's, and it's because of that fourth wall aspect. I think you could break it down to the two things. The first being like, as a viewer, I want to go into these podcasts and feel like I'm in the room.
You're in the room. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And then on the second side of it, so that's where the looseness and the free flowing and the almost like friendly nature of that of podcasting is really valuable, right? Is that first part. And then the second part is where I'm actually genuinely just trying to like get some value out of this.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that might involve me going to a different podcast where there's more of that a little bit more structure, a little bit more positioning of certain questions, things from guests and whatnot. And I know like getting guests is something that we eventually want to do too. So I think you're absolutely right. Like finding that balance of being loose as well as just the tiniest bit structured that we actually provide value to people, whether it be from just talking to each other like this or talking to a guest that we bring onto the show is going to be us going forward.
Yeah. Something I'd like to inject a little bit more of as well is playtime, like this being playtime, playfulness. So if we're talking about conversationalist and podcasting as a skill, I think something that is such an important aspect of my training, especially in jiu-jitsu, is having this attitude of play, like it's playtime. You know what I mean? And I think that's where it applies so much to combat sports. If you look at, that's why I think you see a trend of people moving away from hard sparring and modeling it more like how the Thais spar, Muay Thai, where if you watch, like, because they fight so often, they don't really go hard in sparring, in training. They don't do hard sparring really. And what you do see them do is basically just, it's like playtime. They're just touching. They're just pitter patter. You know what I mean? And I find like I don't know exactly what the source of it was, but I think I just naturally fell into it, and I found that it really helped me out a lot in training was treating it like playtime. And I found that, like, you know, you're and there's science behind it too. I didn't even know about the science prior to it, but apparently there's a science to it where when you're doing hard sparring, for example, your cortisol levels just spike, like your fight or flight response, right? And that does something to your skill development. That does something to like your brain, where you're not as receptive to like retaining a lot of that stuff. Now I'm butchering that, but the key takeaway to the science behind is like when you treat something with more playfulness, your good hormones will kind of get released, and you know, you're not as stressed when you're practicing that technique or whatever. But you know, in general, when I'm having that attitude of playfulness, I definitely find that you're having fun learning, as opposed to just being stressed out constantly. Like, oh, I'm about to get hit, or you know what I mean? Because like this is hard sparring now. I'm more stressed on the fact that I might get hurt, as opposed to just like having fun actually doing it, enjoying it, and then, you know, things tend to stick better. And I think that's something that we should inject a little bit more of. And here is, you know, it obviously depends on like the topic or whatever. And I honestly haven't really found like, you know, a natural way to do it. Like in our natural conversation, we're always silly. You know what I mean? Whereas sometimes in here, we're not as silly, but I think that's something that comes with time, and it's weird because if you're too conscious of making it silly, then it comes off as a little bit disingenuous. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that's something that I think would help us is just treating, you know, just being, you know.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying.
Our personalities would shine a little bit more. You know what I mean?
That's such a good point. Because again, like going back to that example of, you know, the two reasons why I personally go watch podcasts is because more so on the first side of that, which is like genuine. I like that genuine personality coming out when you hear it from people that you listen to, like whether it be Rogan or whether it be Shane Gillis or Theo. Like, you know, you're listening to those guys, and they're not copying, or they're not.
Yeah, it's authentic.
It's authentic.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
And they make you feel like you're in the room with them.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
just shooting the shit with you.
Exactly.
So I think when we come in here, the past 10 episodes, every Sunday we've been coming in here, and we're trying a little. I definitely think we're trying a little not too hard, but we're trying hard to like try to extract as much value as we can off each other. I don't know if that makes sense. You know, we're just conscious of it.
I think you're just more conscious of it, as opposed to make it like, you know, it has a more of a serious tone.
Yeah.
I think I think not a serious tone is like, oh, dramatic or whatever, but like I think we're both trying to be like professionals.
Yeah.
We're like, you know, cognizant of that, and of the fact that, you know, we want to make it a well produced show, something that we would watch, you know.
Exactly.
But I think that this is part of the process. This is why I'm not too stressed about you know, doing anything where it's drastic. I think where just the fact that we're cognizant of it, I think we'll just slowly develop that style. I don't want to force anything to the point where it kind of hampers on just us naturally finding our own voice. You know what I mean? I think this is just a part of the process of finding our own style. Like the way that we're doing it right now, it could be different from the way that we do it like 20 episodes from now, 30 episodes from now, 40. Well, maybe we end up being a little bit more silly, or maybe we end up taking it into a direction where maybe it's not like, you know, more of a, if we do more guests, for example, maybe it's going to depend on the guest. And I think it would probably, you know?
Right.
I mean, that's a long-winded way of saying, well, I think we're just finding our style.
We're finding our style 100%.
I think we're getting better every single episode. You know what I mean? Every single episode. And this is just exactly what you'll find in any skill development, I think, especially in jiu-jitsu, for example. Early on, as long as you're consistent, your gains are going to be massive. They're going to be leaps. Whereas as you get better and better and better, like over time, those gains get smaller and smaller and smaller. Like for me, for example, nowadays, my I still feel like, even though I'm brown belt in jiu-jitsu now, I still have big, massive gains to be made in certain areas that I'm still a beginner in. Like when you actually break down like the art of jiu-jitsu, for example, it's on the surface, it might seem like there's only a few limited moves or whatever, like, you know, from levels anyway. You have white belt to black belt, but I think you can make the argument that each technique and each variant, like, you know, each branch of those techniques, you could be a different belt level.
Right.
So I could be like a brown belt at doing Kimuras, whereas I'm a white belt doing like heel hooks.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think the goal is to be like trying to keep everything kind of level, but then you might specialize or be a black belt or a super, like a red belt in certain other areas. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, that's such a good point. I agree 100%. And I think that you brought up that playfulness and trying to inject more playfulness and try to treat this as more as playtime. And then when I think about that, it's harder to think about that, because like that could mean two things for this, right?
Yeah.
That could mean one, like just be more silly, or two, actually try to like work on different techniques within the podcasting umbrella in this context, where in yourself and people trying to find our voice. So I think definitely in general, one, we could use a lot more playfulness.
Yeah. What is this gonna say? Like, how do we do that?
Yeah.
We just like smoke. Do we just like smoke weed on camera?
Honestly, we fucking
you know what I mean? No, we
just,
can't. We cannot. Not in this studio.
Not in this studio, but like beforehand, you know, we could just pop a fucking, you know, a joint just outside before we record. That's definitely part of it.
No, man, that would be like super illegal. No, actually, that's not what it.
Yeah.
It's legal here in Canada,
it's legal
folks.
Here in Canada, so we're good. We're covered. But then the other part of that is, because I agree with you 100% that like treating anything, like any skill that you're trying to develop, and when you're trying to hone in and train that skill, try to have it more from the perspective of it being playtime when you're dedicating that time, as opposed to just like, operating from from an angle of, I'm gonna do stuff that's more risk averse. You know what I mean? Like for me, example would be trying to talk and try to bounce points off each other, but not trying to sound stupid. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to like.
Yeah, you say some shit sometimes that's like that. You don't say that in regular conversation, bro. Yeah.
Well, without a
shadow of a doubt, bro.
That's part of it. There's always going to be that. Too.
Yeah. You think so? I don't know. Like, Like that's I think that's where it could come off try hard, where it's like,
well, no, because I could just be saying like without a shadow of a doubt the whole time, and that's what I thought it was. You know?
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
So there's that I think, you know, bro, I'm just dumb in general, so there's probably gonna be more of that. As we do more of this, right?
Yeah.
But then there's also the more bigger, more serious one is like trying to just
spit it out, bro.
Yeah, like that. There's aspect to that too. Like
right.
Just trying to, because this is a really good way to organize your thoughts, right? I think
it is
podcasting.
Yeah,
100. Every single week to have a platform where you're fucking.
Yes.
You're forced to organize your thoughts. You're forced to have and develop like critical thought.
Talk about it.
So it's tough sometimes, because especially we do this every Sunday morning.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Sunday morning following a Saturday. Like I slept at like 2:00 last night following UFC. Right?
Trust.
So it's like, fuck, man. But I think it's good. I think over time we're naturally going to get better at it. And then, it's just, I got to find a way to get rid of that whole mindset of like, hey, I already know that I'm dumb. Why not just like
just sink into it.
Just
sink into it. Like I don't know, man. Like
part of it is
because that's
too.
the
Let me tell you right now.
Tell me.
Topic, part of it is you, because I know that when I'm fucking trying to like collect myself and trying to like organize my thoughts, I look at you, you're just fucking smiling at me. So all I want to do is just smile, like laugh as well, because I know that I'm just fucking I'm just fucking milking it, you know. Milking
that's where it could come off try hard. It's like, but actually
well, you hear these smart people on like other podcasts that, like, you know, they take big pauses, and sometimes I have to check my fucking phone and be like, did I lose my connection or some shit?
What do you mean?
You know, like Sam Altman.
Oh, yeah. Smart people in general.
They take pauses.
Yeah, no, you know, for those 3 listeners or watchers or audience that we have, don't get it twisted. My brother and I might be on the spectrum, and I don't say that as any disrespect to anybody that's truly on the spectrum, because I think although we might come off as dumb. I mean, although we might see, I already fucked that up. Yeah. Although we might come off as slightly smart, realistically, we're a bunch of meatheads, man. Yeah. My brother and I are like, think about it this way: we're the first generation off of the farm. Not to say that there aren't any smart people that come from farms, but generally speaking, they're not the brightest. And I'm speaking from experience. My family that are farmers, they're not all bright. You know? Really not. No, bro, that's a real. And there's no, bro. Like we come from a line of farmers that literally, the only level of education that anybody actually went far with was our parents. Before our parents, did our grandparents go to school? No. Did our great-grandparents go to school? No. And when I say go to school, I'm talking about like university and all that shit, right? Like I think Papa stopped school or about Usting, for example, stopped school like grade 6 so that it can help and work with a family. So I think generally, I mean, we, you know, we're all this to say we're not that bright.
We're not that bright.
But I think this is a testament. I think it is a testament to the fact that hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work hard. And what we do have in spades is because we come from that farmer's mentality, that we have that, it's in our blood, man. I think there's so much to it from a genetic standpoint that just over time, our reputation as a family back home is that we work hard. That's what Luis Mayo, our ancestor, 8 generations ago, that's our great, like 8 times great grandfather, him and his brothers, when they settled in Bunod, they were just known to just going out there and just grinding all day. Because back then, if you were able to clear the land, you would be able to claim that land as yours. It was basically free for all. So if you were able to work hard,
it was Minecraft.
It was pretty much. Exactly. Yeah. So, but the concept was if you worked hard, like, you know, there were even people knowing that they still didn't work hard to just go out into the field and clear it. They would rather just sit around all day. Whereas our family, like, just over time, we were just hard workers. So I think this is just a testament to the fact that even though despite our limitations in one way, like mentally, you know, because honestly, man, like, yo, like this is the silliness that I'm trying to talk about, is that when my brother and I are actually together in a room with our friends and whatnot, it gets borderline like you would think that we took the short bus to school.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Genuinely.
But that's also, I think, part of the reason why a lot of our friends like hanging out with us in a group. Like Mina tells me about it all the time. He's just like, bro, when I'm with you guys, like you guys bring out a certain like level of in me too. You know what I mean? So
which is, it's a good thing.
100%.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. So
you want to be that. Like I always have strived to be, and I think this is just innately in my personality, as trying to be always trying to be the funny kid in class, trying to make people laugh. You've been like that. Yeah, I love making people feel good. Like I want to be that person that makes other people feel good to be around me. Sometimes I get like that, you can't be like that all the time, but I can feel it. I take it to heart too when people like when I'm in the same room with some people and like they're just like, yo, like I kind of want to dip, like kind of being like a little introvert and shit like that. I get that feeling, you
think so? You do.
I sense that feeling. It might just be me projecting, right? And be me being insecure, but I hate that feeling. I hate that feeling of being somewhere and you get the feeling that, I don't know if you experience this, but you get the feeling that other people, like, because you're there by yourself. I get this with even my friends sometimes, like I'll be in a room with just the other night we went bowling, and I was with a pretty small group, and one of my boys, Jason, was with me, and we were just like chilling. We waited. The group was over in another table. And we were trying to get food or something, and then it was just me and him, and like I just felt like so fucking, just like, am I not doing enough to make him feel comfortable around me?
Yeah, I think he's just socially awkward, man. You're not the bro. I've never connected to Jason in any kind of way.
True, there could have been that as well. Yeah, but I can't. I can't help that feeling that, and you're right. Like I think
he's generally an awkward guy.
It's just it's just a person that you're
exactly.
You're with.
And I don't think he's ever felt comfortable. Like maybe this is me projecting, but yeah, I think there's just people that are just awkward, bro.
Yeah, that's true. There's
just people that are awkward. But I think the fact that you had that need, that feeling in the first place,
like
to just like, hey, yo, am I like, am I making it engaging? You know what I mean? I think that's more of a. So this is where, like, I think comedians talk about it all the time. It's just like, there and Burr talked about it, where he's just like, part of the reason why I wanted to be funny was because it was disarming to people. Like if I could be funny, that people would like me, and if people would like me, then I don't have to be so have this anxiety that people in the room don't like me. You know what I mean?
Really?
So I think there's a psychology to that. You know what I mean? Like where it's just like, okay, if I can disarm people with humor, with laughter, then they're on my side.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And like now we're in this together, right? So
that's a good way.
Whereas if you're like, you ever have it where you have certain joke, like you try to be silly with somebody, or you try to kind of bounce humor off of them, and they're just not reciprocating. You know what I mean? You have that kind of feeling of either, oh, like, yo, fuck this guy, like I'm trying to be like cool right now, and you cool with you, and either you're not recognizing it, or you're just not cool enough to get it in the first place. You know what I mean? And we're not gonna see eye to eye, at least to that level. Like it happens at work. There are certain people that I could be like silly with, and like, for example, I just came back from a work trip yeah, exactly. Right. I was trying to avoid saying that. Like I don't want to be like mixing those two worlds, right? But anyway, so
my bad.
You can just beep it. Keep it out, bro. Beep it out. Anyway, so like what I'm saying is like, yo, like you're like,
oh, it's true. My bad. Shit. Podcasting as an art.
Box me, dog. But like anyway, so you gotta beep that out though, honestly.
Fucking Orlando.
Yeah, you fucking Singapore, bro. Fucking the North Pole, bro. Bro. Anyway, so like there's certain people where I can make stupid jokes to, and I had this one guy, I told him this super racist joke, and he's just like, yeah, I want to repeat that. He's like under his breath.
No way.
Bro, I died, man. And then I told these other two guys about that, and the whole time, the whole week has just like, because basically, because we were doing this Lego shit, right?
What the
Yo, chill. It was like a team building event. So basically, there's like these mini fucking Lego things. They're like this kid's toy. Yeah. And the goal was like, okay, whoever can, you got to work together and then like put these Lego pieces together. And whoever whoever finishes first wins, right? So they're basically like thick Kinder Surprise, but the Lego pieces are tiny, bro.
Oh, no.
Some of them are like single, you know what I mean? I wish I took a picture of it. But anyway, so we're there. I'm like, we're both struggling, like putting this shit together. So under my breath, I'm like, yo, honestly, man, we need like a little Vietnamese lady with little hands.
The guy didn't fuck.
He didn't,
bro. That's a good joke, man.
No, exactly, bro. That's what I mean. Like objectively, like Vietnamese people have like small hands. You know what I mean? Like
that's why they make everything, bro.
Oh my god! So
the fucking guy just.
I know that I'm cool with this guy to say that, right? Yeah. I wouldn't be able to say that to everybody in that room, bro, without HR getting involved. You know what I mean? Yeah. But he's just like, yo, he's like, I want to repeat that.
Oh, fuck you.
No. But he was fine. He was fine. But then I told my other two friends that I'm like really cool with at work.
Yeah.
I told them about that, and then they were just they've been giving me shit. It was like, yeah, like, you know, they now they're saying that I'm the one with the little Vietnamese hands, because these two other guys are like they're American, bro, like 6'8", you know what I mean, 6'7". Well, okay, maybe not 6'8", but they're bigger dudes. But anyway, so
that's
like bad. Man, what point were we making? Like just like humor. Like so. There's certain people that you're cool with, like going back to that point about bowling or whatever, right?
Yeah.
There's certain people that you're just gonna have a certain comfort level with, right? And being silly, right? And I think that's where the humor comes from. Is like that. I think that's where the anxiety that you're feeling is like, fuck, like, does he like me, or does he not? Are we cool? Like, is he having a good time? Whatever, like, you know what I mean? Just as like being that person in the room.
Yeah.
But I think there's like at some point, just like, okay, for me, if I throw up a volley from a humor, because humor is like especially when it comes to between guys, it's a back and forth.
Yeah.
If we're having funny, like, you know,
it's a dance.
It's a dance, right? Like whether it be like we're ragging on each other, you know what I mean? So it's something like you offer a volley, and if they volley back, dope. Okay, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna have a good time, right? But some people just either don't know how to volley back, because that's one thing, because not all people just have humor in the first place, or they're just awkward themselves. You know what I mean? They don't know, even if they wanted to volley back, they don't know how to.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
We got to find a way to inject more humor into this, because I like it. You're so right. When we're talking behind camera, just
our silliness is OP, bro. Yeah. Like it's actually like laughing to the point where your ribs or your abs are sore. That's a goal.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I think that's where it's fun, man. And the more that we can do that here, but then also for the people that are watching, I think that would be dope. That would be way more engaging. You know what I mean? Our light just. It's another production. Oh, yeah. Mine.
Yeah, it's tough because there's so many podcasts nowadays, and you know, I often like, now that we're 10, I keep saying it, but it's a good checkpoint. You know, we're finally in the double digits.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And so going forward, we're going to have, you know, X amount of this again, and then we're at 100, and then we're at 3 digits, you know, and I think it's something that I often think about, like, how do we always come in here and try to improve every single time, right? And then a lot of that is comparing and looking at what other podcasts are doing, and a lot of it is also just researching, like, how to, like, actually grow one of these things in current times, you know, because the podcasts that are out there in today's age and day are different from the context and the setting and the environment that it was 10 years ago, right? And so you often will see, and you will often hear from YouTube and from TikTok and from other people that are making podcasts that share tips on how to grow a podcast, is that you have to define like what the fuck your podcast is about. You have to niche down, do all these certain things, and really like people are saying the same stuff.
Yeah.
People are saying the same things. And for me and for us and what we're doing here at YMP, a lot of that just doesn't. I feel like we're going off book a little bit, and I don't know if like we're doing the right thing by going off book a little bit, or if we should actually get.
I think this is an opportunity to like be different. Like I don't like
selves,
the
right?
thing is, this is the beauty of what we're doing here is that we can do whatever the fuck we want with this. You know what I mean? Like, to me, I think what's important is to have a silly goose time.
Yeah.
Shout out Brian Callen.
Me too.
Silly goose time is, I think, is what's gonna keep us coming back to the table.
Yeah.
Or that's gonna be a part of it. It's like if we have fun doing it, and I do have fun doing it, we're gonna keep coming back to the table. and coming
back and fucking.
Yeah, exactly. Come back for more. But the other one is as well is like the yin and yang to it is the opposite to that. On the other end of the spectrum is if we need to have like a technical talk or if we need to have a more serious talk about whatever the topic might be, I think that's completely fine too. You know what I mean? It's going to depend. As far as our niche goes,
dude, I don't even know.
I don't know either. I mean, honly, like we have a bit of everything. I think I think there's an opportunity here to kind of be whatever we want to be. You know what I mean? I think we just follow our guiding light of like, okay, is this going to add value to whoever's watching, and are we having fun doing it? I think that's enough for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then there's definitely things that I think we can do to grow it further, like I was talking about the shorts, the reels, or whatever. But early on, especially as it is right now, the priority should be just finding our own style. You know what I mean? And then from there, I think those questions are gonna answer themselves.
Yes, I think you're right. I think bottom line is if we can actually create an environment and a show here where people can come to and just fuck with us.
Exactly.
Who we are.
Exactly.
And that goes for anyone else that wants to make a
more scalable
any kind of content in general.
Yeah.
Right. You got to be your genuine self. You know what I mean? And that's what is going to get people that fuck with you to come back for more and come back to the table and spread their legs.
Exactly. Exactly, bro. Like I think it's a lot more scalable that way too.
It is.
You know what I mean? Because like I think the danger or risk of like of having what I don't know.
It's
exactly
silly, man.
Exactly.
Fucking...
But I think that the risk of having of trying to force a niche is that we would be boxing ourselves into that niche.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why I like the loosey goosiness of like, okay, there's certain topics every week. Like I think we're talking to generally people around our age, give or take 5 years. You know what I mean? So plus and minus 5.
Right.
So for example, like you're 28, so somebody as young as like 23 could be watching it, right? And I think this is watchable for somebody that's 23, for example. And then for plus 5, let's say for someone that's up to 40. So anything in that range, 23 to 40, whatever topics that are going to generally interest us are generally going to be interesting for those people, I would say. I think that's a fair estimation. You know what I mean? We're not like into this crazy. I mean, maybe so, but I don't think any of the subject matter that we've been talking about has been anything really, really, really niche anyway, aside from maybe like jujitsu.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True. And I think when we eventually, what's also going to help us boost us to finding our voice and finding our niche or
our
identity is when we actually get and start looking for guests for the show.
I think guests, but also depending on like, although this is not probably the fastest way to grow an audience, I think in the long run is the most scale. It goes back to that question of scalability, right? Because I think to your point about finding a niche is you could find an audience fast that way because you know exactly who you're targeting. You know what I mean? And then you can design everything to kind of target those people. Like, okay, where are they more often to access this information? where like how are they accessing this information, you know what I mean? All that shit, right? But I think as long as and you know, once we do get viewers, that's I think where it's going to answer a bunch of questions like who's actually watching, you know what I mean? But in terms of having this kind of loosey goosey, you might not be able to target someone too specifically because it's so broad. But I think in the long run, like I said, it's going to be like people are going to stay for us as opposed to the content that we necessarily talk about, I would say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like a cult of, you're going for the cult of personality. I think with this current approach anyway, if we continue down this path, it's more so we're asking people to stay because of us, because of our personalities. And I think that opens up the door for, as long as I'm interested in it, like whoever's watching, they're going to be down for, you know what I mean? As opposed to, okay, like maybe we focus it more on jujitsu, but then the moment I start going into like cooking, it's like, well, what the fuck? This guy's going into cooking and like food now, you know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas if it's like, you know, more of on our personality and how we banter and how we interact with our guests or whoever, or interact with each other, it's not going to be unusual for us to talk about all these different topics because it's us, it's who we are. And we get excited talking about, we have fun talking about it. You know what I mean? So I think in the beginning, like obviously because we don't come from any other background, like you were talking about in an earlier episode, where you know most of the big podcasts, they have something else going on, right? Whether they be an actor or a comedian or they're already an established business person, we don't have that right now, right? Or we don't have that, so we're kind of doing. This is going to be a long journey if we want to really grow this out to be its maximum.
Yes.
And it was for Rogan. And if you look at Rogan's path, that's basically what it was. He didn't have a defined niche per se. Like he wasn't targeting specific people.
He was a Fear Factor guy.
He was a Fear Factor guy but he was a comedian. Yeah, exactly. Like but what I'm getting at is that like he never went into it where it was just a hang. You know what I mean? And then it just developed into this thing where he would, like, to your point, those guests that he has are subject areas that he's already interested in, but he just has the means now to bring in people that actually know what the fuck they're talking about because he's coming at it from a place of curiosity. You know what I mean? And I think that's something that we should model too. Is like,
I think so.
If there's something that we're interested in, and going back to what we're talking about as us being people that are not the brightest, right? We're like I don't know shit about science really, but I know a lot of things in science that interest me. If I have the means of bringing in a scientist to talk about a topic that we're interested in, I think that's an opportunity for us to grow and for our audience to also learn from that person as well. So all this to say, I think long and short is, if we could be a Joe Rogan light, I'm not mad at that.
Dude, a Joe Rogan light would be a fucking killer.
That's what I'm saying.
Pursue, you know?
Exactly.
I think yeah, dude. That's why I think the content game is just so groundbreaking, bro. Because you can genuinely just do anything.
So why would we box ourselves to any one thing?
Exactly. I don't know. I think it's always kind of especially in these early stages, it's always in the back of my mind. It's like, how do we really like the fuck out of this episode? But you're right. I think the approach should just keep it playful, keep it keep it light, you know, that this is something where we're just coming in, we're training, bro.
We're training.
We're literally training.
Exactly.
And it's a lifelong thing. It's a lifelong pursuit, honestly. The viewership and the other things that kind of come with it down the line are all things that are genuinely just things that are cherries on top.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like money, if we were to get to that point.
Exactly. I think that's
status,
to me as a bonus.
Fame, all that stuff is
I think
a
it
bonus.
would be bonus.
Bottom line is us two talking. It's us two with a guest talking. We're trying to figure out more about the world, about ourselves. You know what I mean? And share that value with anyone, whoever it may be. You know, it could be people within our age group, or it could be, I don't know, someone that's fucking retired, or someone that's, you know.
I think we're doing it for the as you know.
I think we're doing it for the right reasons.
That's what I was getting at. Like, I think we're doing it for the right reasons, and I think they're scalable reasons, right?
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, at base minimum, it allows us the time in the week to check in as brothers, but also to work on a skill together, right? Build something together. Yeah, exactly. But at the very least, also to this is also just a kind of like a weekly journal, to be honest with you.
And that's actually one of the things that I wanted to ask you is, now that we're thinking about this, now that we're on this topic, like, what are some different? Because I've thought of some different ways, and maybe I can go first of improving and actually trying to be intentional with this skill that we're trying to.
Yeah. So actually, on that note, on that topic, going back to what you were saying earlier, like definitely the looseness is there, but this is what I was saying: it's a balance, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that there's got to be some sort of framework.
Yeah.
Because we're not, I don't think that we're quite at that point yet where we could just really go off the cuff. You know what I mean? But not so much where it's constricting or going against the flow of conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So one of those things
Yeah.
that I was thinking about doing more of is writing.
Yeah.
Because I think a big gap in my, repertoire skills when it comes to this is just clarity. Like my
Clarification, clarity,
like just clarity of thought.
Clarity of thought.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like organizing my thoughts
Yeah.
and communicating in a way that I'm actually, developing. Like I'm actually talking in a cohesive way.
Right.
Sometimes I use a lot of ums and I stutter a lot and I struggle.
You have verbal diarrhea where it's just like you haven't actually you're trying to fully form the thought that you're about to do, but then you're putting filler words. Yeah, you're trying to do it real time.
Yeah,
exactly.
So I think writing is going to help with that.
Yes.
As far as writing and what medium that I was thinking of, honestly, the only other thing social media wise that we have to go along with this, because we're posting everything right now through YouTube, but doing it through Twitter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like leveraging Twitter to just write and put my thoughts out more. And we have a Twitter handle that we use for this. And
What's the tag? Drop it.
It's at critical YMP. Follow up. Critical YMP.
Brother.
So yeah, I think just writing more and definitely using that medium as a way for us to also organically grow. But that being more of like a side benefit. The core benefit is just actually writing and putting thoughts out and not being afraid to just put yourself out there. You know what I mean? I think that's such a thing that's such a big deal for a lot of people that want to do anything, whether it be content or starting a business or.
What do you mean? What's such a big thing? Like putting out there, like having the confidence or
having the confidence to actually post and hit that send button, hit that record button because they're afraid of what other people think of them. And I think just being able to do so,
I think that's what hits the nail on the head is not caring less of what people think about you. So that carries on to other aspects of your life, right?
Yeah. So definitely, I think that's number one on my mind right now as far as how I can improve on this skill and come in here every single day to get a little bit better. But how about you? Have you getting any thought at all, or
as far as
just like trying,
just like content and like how we can grow it,
or it can be anything. How can we make this podcast YMP 1% better?
I think coming to the table, like, I mean, I haven't been doing a great job of it lately, but I think it goes back to what we were talking about before, where if you want to have a take. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think having a take at least one take prepared ahead of time that you feel passionate about and that you really agree to, and you're just not like pandering to the audience. I think that's important. And then working with you, for example, to facilitate that. So like you prompting me in such a way to then go into that take. Because that would then feed into the other piece to what I think would be beneficial is structuring our certain maybe sections of our conversation in such a way that it's easy for us to clip afterwards. And we're getting into we're building in public here, folks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think when let's say, okay, top 3 things that are myths in jiu-jitsu that they don't tell you in the beginning, or that they do tell you in the beginning but turn out to be completely false. And then having you kind of prompt me in such a way that I could get into that. Then on the back end, from a production standpoint, if we want to clip that now, it's just like, okay, it's already laid out. 3 things, boom, easy to edit, get it out the door, right? So I think that really is 2 things to do. Is like, number 1, having that take, but then number 2 is like actually in the conversation, like actually framing it in such a way that it's easy to then clip afterwards. I think those are very easy lifts that we can do. Because I do think that the shorts route is a great route to grow it, and whether it be through Instagram Shorts or YouTube Shorts or through TikTok, I think using that as a way to get leads, basically, because that's the way I see it, is like you're using those shorts as a lead generation to then funnel into the actual broad, like the actual channel, the actual full, like long form content, which is the actual recorded podcast on YouTube.
Yeah,
right.
that's a good way.
To me, I think YouTube is actually kind of like a dying. It's on the decline in terms of that path of blowing up. I think it's moving on to more like Twitter. Sorry, to TikTok and Instagram Shorts and like the short form content. I think it's just speaks to psychology in general, as people have shorter and shorter attention spans. But even streaming too, right? Like, which is kind of interesting because streaming is kind of long form content in a lot of ways.
It is.
But a lot of how those streamers get people to watch them in the first place is through shorts a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, oh, like you watch a short on YouTube and it's like, oh, what the heck? Like, that's funny, or like, that's interesting. Okay, let me find where are these guys actually at? Like, are they on YouTube, or are they on Rumble, or are they on Kick, or whatever the service might be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those two things, right?
Yeah.
It's the process, like the actual framework.
Yeah.
Of like doing the work to have a take, so actually having a well thought out take, and then communicating to you. Okay, like prompt me in this way so that I can do it that way. And then the shorts aspect of it. I think those are two things that we should explore a little bit more.
Yeah. Being more. Yeah. I like it. Because then that kind of bounces, or that kind of aligns with my problem right now of trying to organize and structure my thoughts better. Because doing it that way forces you to kind of dice and actually organize path to deliver value in a structured way through question and thought. But anyway, what the fuck else happened this week?
No, what time are we at?
We're at 11:30.
Okay,
We'll go over a few more things. I don't know, dude. I was driving on the fucking Gardner, which then turns into the W
right.
When we get into this area, and I was thinking on the road, coming here this morning. Dude, there's some wild shit that I see away.
Like what?
Dude, I've seen some fucked up things, or like just over the past like year. So two things that come off top. I don't think I ever told you this, but on my way back home from last week's episode, you know how there's we turned into a Ford factory.
Yeah.
And the highway, the QEW forks over to the 401 or the 403.
Yeah.
So you know how when it does that fork, there's like while you're driving on the fork, the 4.
Oh, you mean QEW or the?
Or sorry, the QEW,
Yeah.
the QEW and the 403.
Yeah.
There's a little. It's not really even a curb. It's just like it's just you can drive
onto it.
Yeah, onto it, right?
Yeah.
So last week when I was driving back, I just see like we're just driving, and then there's just me and like maybe like 5 other cars in front of me, right? And I'm like so gassed at this point. I'm kind of just like on autopilot.
Right.
All of a sudden, these people are slowing down. Yet there's open road in front of us.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why the fuck are you slowing down? So I start slowing down too, because like I'm like a pretty safe driver, conservative, whatever. And then all of a sudden, thank God I did, because I just see this other car coming from the QEW veering into the curb.
That's wild.
And driving right over it into the 403 fork.
Trying to get into where it tunnels.
Right. Trying to get into the tunnels, right?
Yeah.
But it turns out when I drove past him, because he ended up still going like, and I thought that he was just trying to like
go over to the other side,
so that he can go through the 403. Like, oh, he just.
But what did he end up doing?
But he just ended up he just kept going slowly. He ends up going off the shoulder and into the fucking
ditch.
Into the not the ditch, but the barrier.
Oh shit.
He goes into the barrier, but he taps it a little slowly, and so I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I keep driving, and I drive past him, and there's like 3 other cars that were originally ahead of me that fully stopped.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I drive past the guy, and it looks like the guy was having a seizure.
Yeah.
Bro was having a full-on seizure.
medical emergency.
Yeah, medical emergency. So thank God, like everyone kind of slowed down and stuff like that. But I just
kept going.
Kept going. Yeah. Fucking dumb. Like
that happened, bro. It's actually wild how you would figure that it would happen more often.
Yes.
With the amount of people that are on the road,
right?
And with the age, like, you know, there's a lot of people that are up there in age driving. You know what I mean? You would figure that it honestly happens a lot more in terms of like, well, I'm saying like medical emergencies on the road.
Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. But that was something that was fucked up that happened.
What else
last
happened?
Week.
Yeah.
I saw another. There was another time where I was driving from, I think, your place, from Hamilton to driving back on the UE, and I saw, again, very similar situation. Just driving. I'm kind of on autopilot at this point. I'm very chill. It's a summer day. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at this car to the left of front. I'm kind of like in this blind spot a little bit. So I back up a little bit. I slow down. It's a red van. I think red Dodge Caravan. And again, we just keep going for maybe, as soon as I notice him, and then maybe like 30 seconds later, we come to a stop, like a full stop. So
This is on the highway? This is on the highway,
yeah. I noticed that he's stopping, so I slow down. I don't even look in front of me, really. Like I just stop because I see him slowing down. I was, for some reason, I just kept looking at this Dodge Caravan,
right ahead of you,
instead of right ahead of me. And so what happened was, all of a sudden, I'm looking at the car, I'm slowing down, and then thank God I did, because all of a sudden he loses control, because it turns out that when he started stopping, there was someone right in front of him. So he loses control, trying to stop.
So he tried to veer.
Exactly. He tried to veer. So
he tried to stop too fast.
He's trying to stop too fast. And so what happened was, he ended up going
goes
left,
off to the side,
and he was already on the left lane. And so he ends up flipping over like 3 times, bro.
No shit.
Yeah. And I also, like, I look and I see that he's like, all right. I just kept driving. I didn't even stop, bro.
Damn.
But yeah. Like,
wait, so he didn't hit anybody?
Too. He didn't hit no one. Yeah,
nobody hit him.
No one hit him.
Okay.
He basically stopped way too late, and so he veered off. And,
that reminds me of that's crazy, because that reminds me.
We had a time where we.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so there's two. There was two I was thinking of. That one. So when we were driving back, and it was like, I think it was raining that day.
It was.
It wasn't like raining heavy. It wasn't raining heavy. It was just wet. There's a certain part from where, like, from Highway 6 going up the mountain towards Ancaster or Brantford, where it kind of curves a little bit. And on the right side of that curve is basically some barriers, but then that goes into like a lake, right? So as I'm turning, I don't know, like, I felt like, I think I hydroplaned. That's probably what it was, honestly. As I take this curve, I all of a sudden started feeling like we lost control. Thankfully, there were people behind us, but way further back. And it's crazy, because just the week before, I remember seeing like this, like, I think it was some sort of like driving thing, or for whatever reason, I don't even know why I was watching it, but I just remember, like, as we were spinning out, thinking, just look in the direction where you're going, and then you're gonna spin into that direction, right? So literally, like, as we're spinning, like, everything went slow motion. And then I just remembered, like, that line in my head repeating, like, just look in the direction, and then, like, steer into their direction, right? So as I did that, and then how did we end up? Face forward, right? Yeah. So then we just drove off. But man, like, that was so fucking scary, because if we did, like, and okay, there could have been 2 things that happened there. If we did spin out and hit the barrier, for example, and then bounce back into the fucking road, and then now people behind us are like right behind us, we could have been fucked. Yeah. Even if we didn't spin into the barrier and we stay there, but people were right behind us, we could have caused an accident. You know what I mean? Yeah. But that was such a close call. And then another one I was thinking about was, I remember, like, in the winter, bro. You know how when you get into the Highway 6, like, off of the QEW going towards the Hamilton, like, where, so this is like, either you could go Niagara or you could go Hamilton.
Yeah.
So as I'm going on here, there's another highway it's merging on from the QEW to get into Highway 6. And as I'm going here and I merge onto here, there was so much snow, for whatever reason, this guy that was trying to merge back into this highway now spun out. And I just see this all from behind, and then all of a sudden I see as he's spinning out, he goes towards the right. I'm just watching this in my mirror, starts tumbling.
Oh my god.
Yeah, bro. And
No way.
honestly, like I was so far away, like I tried it, like then it just became
went out
blur.
too?
Well, yeah, bro. Like I was missions already, bro.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, I'm like, bro, like I don't know, like I tried looking it up in the news after, like I don't think anything like serious happened because like in that moment I was just like, yo, what if like same situation like us where they spun out, they're fine, but now there's this car right behind them, just could have smashed them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bro, it's wild that like, okay, as many accidents that happen, it's honestly wild with the amount of people and characters that are out there in the world
And
that not more happens.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's fucking wild.
It's true because there's a lot of motherfuckers out there that are very. You're like this too. You could be like this too, but are very. They turn into different.
Bro, I'm a driver. Bro, I'm a driver at heart. You know what I mean? I'm a race car driver, bro.
But
you know what I mean?
but yeah, no, it's fucked, man. That is a good thought actually because I was thinking about that the other day too, man. Like sometimes when I'm in autopilot too much, I kind of get too comfortable, and it's like kind of don't want to be too comfortable when you're on
No,
the
bro.
highway,
What the
bro.
fuck?
You kind of want to be, two
wanna
hands,
just be
and driving
attentive.
defensively and attentive.
Yeah. Just be aware of what's going on around you.
Yeah, but I don't
Not
know.
tailgating.
Sometimes, man, it's bad. Like I'll be driving back and sitting in traffic from the office, and I get that 401 traffic. That QEW southbound traffic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
You're not like falling asleep or anything.
I'm not falling
right?
asleep, but
Okay.
like I'm on my phone and shit. It's bad. It's bad.
Dude.
Yeah, can't be doing.
Come on,
Can't be
bro.
doing that,
No,
yeah.
please, dog.
Well, the thing is that it's in traffic, right? Like it's like bumper to bumper traffic.
I get that.
You know
but
what I mean? So I'm like,
brother.
I know.
Yo, that's
how it
honestly, I'm
is.
not gonna lie. That's the shit that scares me most about you and Jessica is when you guys drive, like just you guys driving.
Well, it's like changing songs, it's changing podcast episodes, it's that kind of thing.
I get it.
You know?
I get it. I
Like,
get
with
it.
the chat every now and then, not participating, but that's such.
That's a simple change,
It is.
bro.
It is. And that's why I need to get a fucking Vision Pro because then
Oh,
picture
Vision Pro, yeah,
while
right.
you're driving, you don't have to look
Yeah,
down. or
even more
anything.
distractions, bro. Like you know what? I actually watch One Piece on drives.
Yeah,
I
you're
just-
going to talk about.
I literally no. What I'm saying is that like when I'm driving, I'm listening to it. That's why I listen to it in English. You know what I mean? But just even like, I'm not watching it directly. I'm kind of like using my peripheral vision to watch it. You know what I mean? But
Dude, the next episode we just have a fun nerd episode.
dude, yeah, I'm in Wano right now, brother.
Yeah.
And they just found or Hero, Big Mom just was in the jail in Udon or whatever the fuck it was. Yeah.
She just
Dude.
broke out. She
fucking
just got
sick.
captured.
Yeah, she just got captured, and then like Kaido was just like to take those cuffs off her or whatever, right? Yeah, I'm in that. I'm in that episode.
Oh yeah,
Close, bro. I'm close. I can't
Close,
wait.
man.
We haven't met what's his name? Momo's dad. Fucking how does he
Oh.
come back? I don't know. You know how he
You'll
comes
see.
back.
You'll see.
Brother.
We'll talk about it next week. But yeah,
Gross.
that's it for today.
That's
I
it
think
for
at
today, I think.
11:45.
Another good
Outta
ep.
here.
That one. But how?
10th episode. 10th episode, baby.
Happy Annie.
Happy Annie.
You know what I'm saying?
We'll be back to you next week.
Yes.
then.
And perhaps we'll talk about some
we'll
One
talk
Piece.
we'll talk about some nerd shit. We'll nerd out on some shit next week. All right, folks.